Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Daily for Tuesday, December 16th, 2025, the 350th day of the year, the 50th Tuesday, and we are now less than 10 days away from Christmas Day. It's also another severe weather day for parts of the Midwest and Northeast as kids and even some parents celebrate the school closures. It's day 3 of the 8-day Jewish celebration of Hanukkah, which will be celebrated at the White House tonight. There's a reception in the East Room, according to the White House calendar, and this afternoon, President Trump will be participating in an ambassador credentialing ceremony with several newly appointed foreign ambassadors. He will also likely be celebrating today's delayed release of the November jobs report, which showed 64,000 jobs being added to the economy. Reuters economists had expected about 50,000 jobs. And over on Capitol Hill, the grandstanding over health care continues.
Democrats' so-called plan is a 3-year extension of the status quo. No reforms, no revisions, no rethinking of the way that Obamacare works.
They don't want to see the Affordable Care Act tax credits extended because they don't support providing affordable health care to everyday Americans.
That's House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, the top Democrat in the House, and Republican Senate Majority Leader John Thune. This is Carl Higbie, host of Frontline on Newsmax, who is as frustrated as the rest of us in this segment here with Congressman James Comer, chair of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee.
Here's something, though, Chairman Comer, that I've been very vocal about Republicans doing more. You're one of the guys who's gotten to the bottom of a lot of investigations. You referred things over the Justice Department. But I keep saying, John Q. Public is stuff's just not getting done. We still don't have a budget. Nobody's gone to jail. We're not implementing. I think only 5 in Trump's first 100 days. 5 things were signed into law. I'm real worried that Republicans are going to lose the House in less than a year if they don't start putting some W's on the board. What is the holdup? Where is Mike Johnson? Why can't we get a budget? Why can't we put people in jail? Why can't we do anything that was said and promised on the campaign trail?
Well, you could look at which Republicans in Congress consistently vote against the president. I think that's self-explanatory. Anyone that keeps up with can look. We have a handful of Republicans, a couple of whom are from my state of Kentucky, that just, they oppose the president on everything. And I don't agree with President Trump on everything, but, we've got Republicans that oppose him on everything. And it makes it very difficult to get to 218 in the House. And then when you get 218 in the House, you have to go back and get 60 in the Senate. Thankfully, that big, beautiful bill only required a majority of votes in the Senate. So that passed, and I think that's substantial. But with respect to holding people accountable, I share your pain. I am very frustrated. We've worked very hard on the Oversight Committee with the Biden family investigation, with Dr. Fauci's investigations. We have criminal referrals sitting at the Department of Justice right now. So we're strongly encouraging Attorney General Bondi to take those investigations and run with them because the evidence is overwhelming. The auto pen scandal, these pardons should be kicked out. There's no question about it. So hopefully that we'll see some action soon.
Yeah. Well, the American people, myself included, are also strongly pushing Pam Bondi to do something.
I know you're getting tired, or you are tired, of hearing from Chairman Comer, as am I. From the Biden crime investigation to Hunter Biden investigation to the auto pen to James Comey, but there's only so much the guy can do. I live in Florida. I worked in the news business in Florida for a long time. Pam Bondi has a long, successful track record as Florida Attorney General. I was happy when Trump picked her, but she is clearly not getting the job done. Or is there more to meets the eye as to why she is not getting the job done? Are they holding off on some of these things until we get closer to the midterms? Don't think that's not a possibility. You know how one of my biggest issues is the crime of insane credit card interest, right? I'm always demanding, why don't they do something about credit cards? Someone very much in the know told me that there is a very good chance Republicans will come down on the banks and credit card debt right before the midterm elections. And that's no coincidence. That's also around the same time that the tariff profit checks are supposed to be going out. So just think about that. Meanwhile, there was breaking news concerning the crime statistics in D.C., which should result in someone or some people being held accountable again. But again, they won't be. Back to Carl and Chairman Comer.
Bombshell report over the weekend revealing that the D.C. police chief, Pamela Smith, deliberately manipulated crime data in order to maintain the appearance of somewhat low crime in our nation's capital. And the report coming from interviews with commanders of the D.C. Metro Police, who described the environment under Smith as marked by fear and intimidation, threats of retaliation, saying they were pressured to lower crime stats by, quote, any means necessary, and that Smith pushed for frequent use of lesser charges that were not publicly reported. Chief Smith is scheduled to resign at the end of the month. I say do it now, but whatever. Congressman James Comer is the chair of the House Oversight Committee. Look, Congressman, you spend 50% of your life in this city. It doesn't make you feel safe, does it?
No, look, everyone knew that crime was escalating in the city, despite the fact that the Democrats in Congress and the Democrats in Washington, D.C. tried to convince the American people otherwise. They tried to say crime was down when we knew that didn't sound right. But thankfully, in this investigation, when we launched it, we had whistleblowers come forward. These were active duty Metro police officers in Washington, D.C., who said they were told to be dishonest about the crime statistics to make it look like crime was going down in a city that was infested with crime.
Yeah, it's shocking. And we've seen this all over the country, not just D.C., but there's reports of these law enforcement. I mean, look, we have the receipts right here. These law enforcement agencies, here, Lopez de Jesus Francisco and Dominguez Toto Yanko Gabriel, like, these are not white people, yet they're labeling them as white when they're arrested for, like, gang violence and stuff like this all the time. Who's going to jail for this?
Well, in Washington, D.C., unless you commit murder, nobody's going to jail. That's been the problem in Washington, D.C. They have a liberal Metro Council that has passed excessive criminal justice reforms to the point to where unless you commit a murder, you're not going to have to be held accountable. And what you see is criminals, they commit crimes in the morning in Washington, D.C., and then they're out back on the streets, and by the evening they commit the same crime again. This happens over and over and over, and our brave men and women in the Metro Police Department, they finally came forward and said enough is enough. Not only are our criminal justice laws in Washington, D.C. a joke that inspire criminals to come to Washington, D.C., but we also have crime statistics that are not factual. We've been told to lie about the crime statistics to show that the crime was going down when, in fact, it was going up. That's what they used, these statistics, when President Trump ordered the National Guard to come to Washington, D.C. The Democrats in Congress and Democrats in Washington, D.C., they tried to say, oh, but look, the facts are that crime's going down, when every single one of us who have to work in Washington, D.C. know this is a crime-infested city.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Carl Higbie is the host of Frontline, 6 o'clock Eastern, 6 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax. This D.C. crime news was also the topic of Chris Salcedo's preamble.
At bottom, the police chief in D.C. took taxpayers' money in the form of a salary and ran a con. She pretended to be there to protect the people, but instead protected criminals from facing justice. And in so doing, let the word get out in the criminal underworld that law and order wasn't the call of the day in D.C. That, in turn, made the taxpayers less safe and the criminals emboldened. Democrats' instincts were to continue the lie, because if Americans ever found out about their dark designs for our people, they'd be run on a rail. I'm fond of saying we can't afford leftists anymore in this country, but I'm not just talking about money. America isn't safe with leftists in charge anywhere in this country. It's high time our people recognized that and took back control of rogue governments that have grown beyond the consent of the governed. And we'd better do so fast before it kills us. Look at what happened in Australia.
Chris Salcedo is the host of The Chris Salcedo Show, 5 o'clock Eastern, right before Carl Higbie's Frontline. And speaking of Australia, Senate Minority Leader Chucky Schumer, who is Jewish, has come under fire now for his insensitive, tone-deaf, unsympathetic comments about the shooting at that Hanukkah event in Australia.
And of course, I'm going to say a few words about the terrible shooting in Sydney, Australia. Okay? So, and first, of course, as I always say, no matter what, go Bills. They beat the Patriots today. It's a big deal.
15 people were killed, including a Holocaust survivor and a little girl. But first, go Bills! And the FBI released new video of a possible new suspect in the Brown University shooting that killed 2 people. This is former FBI agent Jonathan Gilliam on Wake Up America with Charlotte McBride and Mark Lotter.
Joining us now, former FBI agent, Navy SEAL Jonathan Gilliam, and former prosecutor, Newsmax contributor Ameer Benno. Great to have you both with us this morning. Jonathan, I'll start with you. So police are back at square one, it seems. They no longer have a person of interest in custody. What do you believe investigators are doing at this stage?
Well, there's a lot of different information. I mean, the stuff that Kash Patel came out and said in a briefing that they were doing with the telephonic analysis, where they're going through and looking at all the different telephones that were in that area so they can geolocate somebody. That, of course, is being done. The cameras are being done. I think they would probably be looking closely at who would typically have been in that building on a Saturday and who they are related to.
Right.
I from the totality of evidence that I've seen, I think that it would most likely be somebody who is familiar with that building and with the people that are in that building, or at least a person that motivated them to come in there. And I think that's probably where they're looking the hardest, but they're looking at all options.
Yeah, Ameer, I mean, it seems like we've only seen this one camera angle of the suspect allegedly walking away. I'm really shocked on a college campus, an Ivy League school, that there could only be one security camera that could catch this suspect. So not only do you think that will make it more difficult to catch the person, but if there's a lack of video evidence, does that make it more difficult to prosecute someone once they get them into custody?
Oh, it could. I mean, obviously, video is great evidence if you've got it. The fact that they didn't have cameras, or they didn't have operational cameras, to me is suggests a potential risk to the university for lawsuits. If they had lapses in their security protocols, if they've got dummy cameras, or they didn't keep up with the maintenance on it, I think that they're exposed to potential litigation and lawsuits for injury to those individuals. As a result, because they couldn't adequately, protect the safety of their students if they're not actually seeing what's going on campus.
So we know that Rhode Island, it's a small state, brown, very tight-knit community. Because of the circumstances, and Jonathan, you kind of alluded to this before, do you think this really does look like some sort of a targeted shooting, or is there a real threat to public safety? Because bottom line, a killer is still on the loose in this community.
Sure. I think in that community, it's so surrounded by homes and small businesses and other facilities for the university. Of course, it's been that individual would have had plenty of time to get away from there at this point. But the fact that they came in there on a Saturday into a building that is typically controlled by key cards, it makes me wonder: is the key card system not working? Was the door propped open? But in any case, that he did not choose a soft target where masses of people would be on a Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock. He didn't choose a place that was like a dorm where people might be studying and massive amounts of people where he could go from room to room killing. He instead went into an engineering facility and went into a very specific area of that engineering facility and did his attack there and then left. And so it appears to me, based on that he was solely focused on that area. There was no follow-on attacks. The individual calmly walked away. So that, to me, looked like a targeted or a planned and motivated hit on at least 2 people in there, and then other people may have been wounded in the shooting, or they may have been targets as well.
Former FBI agent and Navy SEAL Jonathan Gilliam on Newsmax with attorney Ameer Benno, who talked about the lack of working security cameras or just the lack of cameras in general. The undergraduate tuition at Brown University is $71,700 a year. $71,000 a year. And according to an AI search in 2024, Brown University received approximately $184 million through federal grants and contracts, and they may not have adequate surveillance cameras for the safety and security of their students. If that is indeed the case, yeah, there are going to be lawsuits. And as of now, the search for the suspect and a motive continues. And questions about Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar's quickly accumulated wealth and a marriage to her brother also continue. Yesterday, I mentioned border czar Tom Homan had told Rob Schmitt that he was personally looking into Omar's sham marriage to get her brother into the country. Last night, Rob Schmitt brought the border czar back.
She doesn't actually deny the allegations. She just calls it racist, as always. But according to the Washington Free Beacon, Ilhan Omar did, in fact, marry her brother. This actually did happen. The Beacon reporting this. Ilhan's family wanted to bring her brother over from London in 2002 so he could escape a very bizarre lifestyle that he was leading in England at the time. The Beacon claims Ilhan married her brother to get that job done and get him to the United States. Trump's border czar Tom Homan joins us now. You said a couple weeks ago that this was being investigated. You were worried about the statute of limitations, wondering if there was any update.
Look, the file's being reviewed. There's a lot of papers, so every piece of paper is going to be verified, and all the information will be checked. Interviews will be conducted. It is an investigation, so we'll see where it goes. But it is being looked at by some very talented investigators.
Yeah. Ilhan is claiming that her son was pulled over by ICE agents, asked to prove his citizenship on his way to a store. Take a listen to this.
He did get pulled over by ICE agents, and once he was able to produce his passport ID, they did let him go.
So your son went to Target last night with his passport.
He always carries it with him.
In case he gets pulled over.
Yes.
She's claiming ICE's racial profiling in Minneapolis. What's your response to that?
Well, look, it's ridiculous. ICE uses reasonable suspicion. They look at a series of articulable facts, and if they get reasonable suspicion, that gives them the authority, legal authority, to detain and question for a short period of time.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it worked exactly as it's supposed to work. They got reasonable suspicion, they made a stop, they talked to him, satisfied that he had legal status, and released him. That happens across the country all the time. That's the way the system is set up. I've stopped U.S. citizens in my career when I had reasonable suspicion that somebody needed to talk to about their alienage, and once you talk to them, okay, you get the information and you're released. Law enforcement does that thousands of times a day across this country. ICE is no different.
Yeah. I got to keep pushing this because it was such an incredible thing that Kristi Noem stated, but she said something like half of the visas in the Somali community, are fraudulent. Where does that investigation start, and where does ICE and your people come into that? Are we getting anywhere with that? I mean, are we going to see tens of thousands of Somali refugees deported out of this country?
Well, we'll see. Look, we've already arrested a lot of them, and as you said, we surged resources up there, and we're going to surge some more up there because there's a big problem. We've arrested those in the country illegally. We arrested those who are out of status, which means they entered the country illegally at one point, then fell out of status. And we're looking at fraud. We're looking at fraud across the board. And we're also looking at vetting those who came in the country and weren't properly vetted and trying to verify, were they properly vetted? If not, can we vet them to be sure that they're not a public safety threat or a national security threat? Yeah. So we're just getting started. I mean, as you said, we already surged resources. Look for that surge to get a lot bigger in the next 2 weeks. We're going to send more agents there and take this on.
But if that's true, if half the visas in that community are fraudulent, that investigation must come from a different area of DHS. But I mean, for her to make that.
Look,
Go ahead.
Look, I don't know about that number. I haven't seen the paper, but I can tell you that it's all the government, like I've talked about before, citizenship and immigration services, they're at the table. They're involved with visas and people who apply for status here and, citizenship referrals. So they're at the table, too, every day. Every day we have a meeting with all the different agencies from DHS, DOJ, and we have meetings every day about what we're doing, how we can do it better, and what more we need to do. So, yes, citizenship and immigration services is a part of that task force.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how that develops, because that was just a major moment in that meeting when she said that. I've got two more quick ones for you before I let you go. The president today saw you there honoring the military for defending the southern border in the Oval Office today. A fantastic job has been done by all. Classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, which is a great classification for it. It can kill so many people. What does that change?
Look, it puts law enforcement on a serious position on fentanyl. Fentanyl should be a weapon of mass destruction. It's killed, just under the Biden administration, killed 250,000 people. So that's going to give us authority across the world, right? We're going to have other countries participate in helping us. We're going to attack this worldwide. We're just not waiting for this poison to come into the United States. We're going to stop at the border, and we're going to start playing the away game. President Trump's already started when he's taking out boats in the Caribbean. Right. It's going to force worldwide pressure in our allies to attack this all over the globe, not just the United States, but we're going to play the away game a lot more, and this designation gives the authority to do that.
Colombia, Mexico, all of these countries that are problematic in addition to Venezuela.
Rob Schmitt, host of Rob Schmitt Tonight with Borders' Tom Homan. This is President Trump at yesterday's executive order signing.
We're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, which is what it is. No bomb does what this is doing.
Later in the day, at the Christmas reception, the president announced that Donald Trump Jr. got engaged, and Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene also announced that she had gotten engaged. But no, they did not get engaged to each other. Don Jr. asked his girlfriend, Bettina Anderson, to be his wife, and MTG, who will not be going to Don Jr.'s wedding now, got engaged to her longtime boyfriend, Brian Glenn, who is very pro-Trump. Congratulations to all parties involved. On Wall Street, stocks opened mostly flat this morning after the better-than-expected November jobs numbers and after closing slightly lower yesterday. Ford Motor Company announcing that it'll be ending production of its once popular F-150 Lightning electric pickup truck. Remember when those were selling like way over sticker at like $100,000 and there was a waiting list? Now nobody wants them. Bitcoin and most other cryptocurrencies were ticking higher this morning as well after Bitcoin dipped under 86,000 last night. 8 more shopping days until Christmas. Why not give a loved one or a friend the gift of peace of mind this holiday season? You could do it starting at less than $20 thanks to our friends at Webroot. Cybersecurity is the perfect gift for even the most difficult to shop for person on your list, or maybe even for yourself, with device, identity, and privacy protection covered under one subscription. Webroot Total Protection. It has real-time antivirus protection against emerging threats like ransomware, malware, text scams, phishing scams, and more scams. Password manager to protect your logins and your passwords. Up to $1 million in expense reimbursement for stolen funds and out-of-pocket costs due to identity theft. Advanced dark web monitoring, VPN that hides your IP address. Family protection plans include toddlers, students, and seniors. So why not get protected from cybercrime this holiday season with 60% off Webroot Total Protection? Only at webroot.com/Newsmax. 60% off. Huge discount for a limited time only at webroot.com/Newsmax. That is a great gift that your loved one or friend will really appreciate. Webroot.com/Newsmax. Live a better digital life with Webroot. And be sure to keep up with all of today's news and any breaking developments on Newsmax, N2, and at Newsmax.com. The news starts each and every day, 6 o'clock Eastern, with Alex Kramer on Wake Up America Early Edition, followed by Wake Up America National Report. Greta Van Susteren at 4, followed by Chris Salcedo, Carl Higbie, Rob Schmitt Tonight, Finnerty, Rick Leventhal, Greg Kelly, The Right Squad, and much more. I'm Tony Marino. By the way, there was no Powerball winner last night, so tomorrow night's jackpot is now $1.25 billion. $1.25 billion. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday and keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.